Peace to all. And I am Davy Claymore Hawkins, here with you again to bring another message. The video is titled Traditional Heterosexuality versus Eastern Heterosexuality. Now, before we mention what is Eastern heterosexuality, we have to first understand what we mean when we say traditional heterosexuality. What we mean when we say traditional heterosexuality, think of it as exoteric Christianity, that which is outside of yourself. If your religion is outside of yourself, when there is a higher aspect that knows that your religion is within itself, then you must also know that your sexual lifestyle and your sexual preference is also within itself. We all have something called the soul, and as I've mentioned in previous videos, that the soul comes from the sun. That's Psalms. That's Psalms. I believe it's Psalms 11, where it talks about God being a sun and a shield. Forgive me if I got that wrong. Traditional heterosexuality, or the Western idea of heterosexuality, has been nothing but competitive. Us as a black people, as well as other cultures, have been functioning like the one race known as what you would call the Neanderthals, what you would call the Europeans, what you would call the British, what you would call the Caucasians, and the abbreviated word for the origin of the word cauc comes from the word chalk, which refers to a color, white Asians. Okay. So, in that sense, we must first understand that heterosexuality has to shift, and as a matter of fact, it has shifted. And for those that are unaware of that, you can either shift with us, or just listen to this message that we are about to bring to you. I, Sebastian, would first of all like to give the idea of what Eastern heterosexuality is. Eastern heterosexuality is not about the woman pleasing the man. It is more so the opposite. Okay, because if you are the type of individual that likes to please please the man, you really do not know yourself. Yes, there is such thing as partnership, but here are some of the things that we do not do in Eastern heterosexuality. We do not cheat on our women. We do not try to flirt with other women. And this is why most of us black men today in this new age have a problem with heterosexuality. They're not comfortable with it because they realize and they understand that heterosexuality came out of Europe. White men cheat on their wives, white women cheat on their husbands, and have babies with other white people. And since white people came and colonized, we begin to understand that over time in the process of history that we as black people were a structured people, but we never structured ourselves well enough when it came down to colonizing. Let's go back to the prehistoric age. You had the Neanderthals, you had the Homo erectus, and the Homo eugenesis. Okay, and according to history, when the Neanderthals tried to go over to the other side, we as no, excuse me. Our ancestors chose not to protect their territory. Because according to prehistoric history, we understand that the Homo erectus were fighting against each other, not realizing that they too had a conscience. And for this, religiously, I have to say that we have been cursed. However, I feel I, Sebastian, and Davy Claymore Hawkins here feel that this curse that we've been living for so many millions of years and eons, we feel that this curse can be lifted by by meditation, knowing our inner strength, knowing our soul, knowing who we are as black people. Now, I know I'm going a little bit off topic here, but the reason why I had to mention Eastern heterosexuality um, is simply to say that as we stated in honoring the dominant black woman part 1, the function of the function of the traditional heterosexual black male is not dead, but it is on the verge of dying out. And because of that, the men who are supposed to be dominantly masculine have become effeminized, and this is due to your genetically modified consumption of marijuana. With that being said, we have to say this. Sorry for the interruption. With that being said, we have to say this. We hear we see the stench in the jungle of heterosexuality. I'm going to turn this avatar off. This is Brother Devin. I'm going to turn the avatar off. Okay, back in channel. We see the stench in the jungles of traditional heterosexuality, and it is really not, a good smell. What has to change is the structure of heterosexuality. Now, let's go into the topic of Eastern heterosexuality. In Eastern heterosexuality goes back to the time of Africa. Location, Nubia. And this is going to make some of you heteros smile, and then it's going to make you cringe, but I guarantee you, after this lecture is over, you will thank us androgynous heterosexual men and entities. We go into the year 1400 BC. Location, Nubia. At that time, we were a people of royalty, such majestic fabulousness. and we fail because we allowed our brains to get lazy. That when we build one structure, we say, "Oh, we're tired. We don't feel like building anymore." No, because if you learn anything in business, you have to always stay on top of your goal. Always stay on top of your goal. That means protecting territories. Yes. That means providing for the goddess and the children, even though the goddess really doesn't need a man to nurture and provide for herself. Because if she could, she would wipe her male archetypes off the face of the earth and eliminate us out of the ethers of consciousness. Hope you understood that. Now, in Eastern heterosexuality, we have to give this example. In Eastern heterosexuality, in Eastern heterosexuality, the woman is in charge of the entire relationship. Yes, the man does have some say. But if you want to be truly spiritual and that you believe the black woman is God, you must understand that you really have no say. You are not necessarily the slave, but you are more so the servant of your wife. We know this sounds 1800s Jim Crow, but I say this to you. Forgive me for the misverbing of my words. I must say this to you. That you do have some control in Eastern. The man, the alpha male, the natural alpha male, even though the woman is first, you do have some say in the concept and consciousness, the awareness of Eastern heterosexuality. And that is that if a woman is too dominant, you tell her, "Hey, woman, I love you, but you do not push me around. I respect you, and I love you infinitely. But in order for us to be leaders and rule over our home and our community, so that we can someday, one day, eventually rule the world. We have to listen and respect one another. Am I making some sense here? I hear many ashes in the multiverses. Yes. 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 Indeed. What I'm telling you is true. You are not feeling the femininity of Sebastian. This is more of the masculine aspect of me. And until now, you have to first overstand, higher stand, and ultra stand. That you and your woman are one. You are the first collective before you can establish an entire rulership, an entire empire on this universe. Yes? Okay then. With that being said, now we must give you the idea of what Eastern heterosexuality is. If you do not know what BDSM is, I assure you to, excuse me, I just got word from my spirit guides that if there are any children watching, go to my gaming videos and you can watch those. And my lectures that do not have any foul language. Let's see, Taking the Star Seeds to the Streets, Part 1 and 2. Okay. Now let's get on with the lecture. If you do not know what BDSM is, I assure you to please do your research. In that field, women rule the world. Yes, it is a sacred community. And yes, not everyone may be comfortable with it, but for my brother and friend Devin Harris, aka Davy Claymore Hawkins, we knew what type of soul he had. So he figured, well, to keep me from being abusive, why don't, to keep me from being a traditional heterosexual, not only shall I experience my own sexual awakening, but also go to the BDSM community so that I do not over dominate through my impulses and allow the woman to take control of my being. So, with that being said, Brother Davy is doing mighty fine. Mighty fine indeed, yes. Yes, indeed. Mighty fine indeed, yes. The world is in the hands of his soulmate. So, the only way for him to truly experience the true spiritual life of himself is not just through his soulmate, but also through the infinite reality of the one prime creator, creatress, however you may identify the consciousness as source. Allow me to remind you that we all go to the same place, whether we are in spirit form or in physical, and physical beings do die, yes. So, in BDSM, preferably black, that field is for people who have very strong spirits, very bold souls and spirits of steel and iron, titanium. That is for women and men of that consciousness. You have your dommies, you have your doms, and you have your mistresses. Yes. And so it is not Davy's job to promote BDSM. That may be the concept of some of his musical sexual content, which we are aware of, but that is not the whole point. The whole point is to reconstruct the way we look at heterosexuality, because it is because of the white man and the elected white woman. They say today that the black man does not exist because the image that he puts out is very, how you say in the third dimension, street, very thuggish, very bloody, glory. They like wrestling. Number one, what they did was took our professional wrestling and dominated that. They took our karate and they dominated that. So yes, we were wrestlers. Yes, we were football players, but it wasn't oval shape. It was more soccer related. We used our feet. Excuse me. I'm going to let go of energy for a few minutes and let Davey talk. I am, I am, I am Sebastian of the planet Venus. I am I am Venusian. May the infinite love of, may the infinite love and light, may the infinite love, oneness and light of God be with you. Okay. Alright, guys. This brother Devin here. I channeled. Alright, so yeah, that's the title of today's video. Um I I I prophesied this months ago. No, excuse me. It was my feminine heterosexual ancestors who predicted and prophesied this years ago, and they said it was all going to be through me. And it's so funny that's all they and I talk about, because um, the reason why the reason why I want to say we're doing this is because we're hearing concerns of the other communities, such as the gays. They say that we, well, I can't say we, but because we're not a part of that community. They say that you are abusive. Okay, and I'm glad that I became conscious, because it was due to the simple fact of the way that I lived my life, and I didn't like how, you know, heterosexual people, amongst my own, say that boys are better than girls, and then it was, and the table had turned when the girls debated, and they said no, girls are better than boys. Well, I'm a wise heterosexual. I'm a wise androgynous heterosexual man, and I say, who cares? Because even though we're different, we can all do basically the same thing that we've been trained to do. We're not trained, but we can do what we've been created to do. Is what I've been saying. Is what I'm trying to say. And the only difference is that some of us are more dominant than others. I mean, you have men, you have some men that are more dominant than women, and then you have some women who are more dominant than men. And this is not by accident. This is on purpose, for a purpose. Because each of us are teachers in our own infinite way, in our own infinite and unconditional way. Okay? So, Eastern heterosexuality is not just so much about BDSM. That's just one aspect of it. So that I'm gonna bring Sebastian back. Okay, that's just one aspect of it. We are the pro actors of life. We we belong to the gay community. Okay, the gay, the lesbian, bisexual, transgender, genderqueer, and yes, there are there are heterosexual people in the gay community. You better believe they are. They're there. Um, so if you don't believe me, let me have my brother Sebastian, my spirit guide, tell you. Yes, yes. There are straight people in the LBGTQ community, and together we are known as not LBGT, but we are LSB GTQ community. Alright? That is who we are. Now, there is a second part of this lecture. The part two. This video is also titled, We were born in you, but we are not of you. Being born in you means that you may have a mother who gave birth to you, and when you come out the womb, she may expect you to live a certain way, think a certain way, be a certain way. But the reality is that is not reality. It may be reality in this dimension, but when it comes to the celestial realms, when it comes to the celestial realms and the astral plane, you must understand, overstand, higher stand, and ultra stand. You must ultrastand that, which means to be infinitely consciousness. You have to have many minds. You have to have so the planets represent your brains. So and they also represent the electrolytes in your mind. So each planet is communicating to one another. Okay, and then you have realms higher than that are communicating to you. You have realms higher than that are communicating to you. And they're bringing their energy into your consciousness. Okay? So let's talk some trivia. Let's talk some socialism. Let's dive into a little bit of politics, shall we? Yes? Okay. Alright. So alright. So there comes a time in the sensitive heterosexual man's life when he realizes that he's not like other natural and traditional and cultural heterosexuals. He belongs to a culture, yes, but it is not of your culture. The culture that he belongs to is what you would call the rainbow culture. Now, in this sense, there are heterosexual Pan-Africans who do not allow, nor do they accept, people that are gay. And they cringe or they question and criticize those of us who identify ourselves as heterosexual. However, we are in tune with our effeminate consciousness. You have dark and light-skinned African women in America, and maybe over the globe, say that I don't want my heterosexual man to look like Michael Jackson. I don't want my heterosexual man to look like Terrence Trent D'Arby. I don't want my heterosexual man to look like Prince. But what you do not realize is, what you do not understand is, we have a purpose. We were meant to be here. And when we come out of parents that are unconscious and do not overstand our way of thinking mentally, our way of thinking subconsciously via spiritually, it makes things difficult. So then if one does not know his or her power as a feminine heterosexual male and a masculine heterosexual female who may have been born sensitive but thinks masculine, it is very difficult for them to operate in who they are, because deep down in their own soul star chakra they realize that they are not from planet Earth. They came by accident, yet some made an agreement to come here. Those that believe in that ideology. Yes. Davy came by accident. He went through a lot of ignorance. And he's on his way out of that realm of ignorance. Praise be to the gods. Praise be to the feline ancestors. Praise be to the gods. Praise be to the feline ancestors. Sekhmet, Basset, and Mao, and a few other Egyptian ancestors who may be cat-like beings. Mao is the black cat representation of Ra. Okay, so it is true when we have our prophet who is gay, and he says, and he says that our creator is androgynous. Let me confirm to you right now that that is true. But then again, you have your perception. The gays have their perception, and we as feminine heterosexual males, masculine heterosexual females, and androgynous heterosexual males and females have our own perception of how we define this thing you call a universe. Before there were ever thoughts and consciousness of universes, forgive me, there were nothing but interdimensions. Why? Because we were born and raised spiritually and celestially out of very high frequencies. And when it was super high, we were made of what you as earthlings on this third dimensional planet call love. Nothing but infinite love. Love does not argue. Love does not have conflict. It doesn't show conflict. All it knows is how to do one thing. That's show love. Excuse me, two things. That's show love and that's be love. So we went through similar ridicules as the gays did, because when it came down to gays being raised in traditional religious homes, better yet, before I give that example, let's go further back. There were gays in Africa, and many people now in Africa deny this. They deny this because they are so used to the heterosexual conditioning of Europe and Great Britain. Therefore, them two together, they create global white supremacy, which in Star Wars today would be the Dark Empire, the rise of the Dark Empire. That is the truth. That is the truth. There were gays in Africa, and their purpose, their sole their sole purpose on the earth were to be healers, teachers, guides. The same proactive action as you would see a Syrian extraterrestrial. We were your shamans, we were your teachers, we were your healers. Yes? And when your top pippity poppity white folks with smoking pipes in their mouth saw this, they said, "This is immoral. This is inhumane. Why, this is an monstrosity." They used every psychological tactic they could to turn the gays and us straight people who were effeminate. And back then they didn't have a name for the straights that were showing their feminine side. All they knew is that we were just straight. That's it. That's all they knew. And so years later we have to deal with things like politics. And today we were just informed on earthly news that they are issuing nuclear bombs. This, my friends, is sad, and yet do not fret, because we wish to change that. We can't tell you how, because it would be too long of a video. We will explain that in the androgynous heterosexual revolution video that's coming up very soon in October or January, one of the two. Okay, so if you had gay black men and women who were shamans and healers and teachers, then it is fair enough to say that you also had those of us who were straight and who were in contact. I should galactically say. You had those of us who were in tune and in contact with our divine feminine selves, even though we identified ourselves as straight and heterosexual. Deep down in our soul star chakra and our 162 bodies, which also represent our 162 consciousness, we knew that there was no such idea of a man or woman. All we knew is that we were just energy, consciousness that became chemical, and throughout the chemical formed the elements of the earth. Rock, which formed the earth. Then came the air, which scientists and meteorologists know as the wind. Then came the fire, if you will. And when when humans came into form, your religious Europeans and British folks identified it as soul and spirit. Keep in mind that there is no such thing as man or woman. We are all just energy. We are an intellectual, or should we say ultra intellectual idea of the creator and creatress. Yes? Yes. Oh, okay. Good. We're glad you're learning. Yes. This is a very unique lesson you are about to learn. Very unique lesson. Oh yes, yes. Take notes. Play this video over and over 100 times. Take as many notes as you need, and if you may and must, make a footnote now. Yes, don't be ashamed. So, with that being said, we must first acknowledge that the first organism to ever exist in the multiverse was the Great Mother. And in the real history books of the 80s, the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, and 50s, when you learn from that African perspective, as they call it on Earth, you must know that when it comes down to our so-called black science, we prefer the term African science. You must know that the creator, who is female and male, created every hue, which refers to color, as you third-dimensional humans call it. We must recognize, acknowledge, and accept. I know it's hard for some heterosexual people to understand and believe. We must overstand and understand and higher stand that the black woman was sensitive, but she was not sensitive in her consciousness. She was always dominant, forever dominant, because that is what made her strong. That is what made people acknowledge her as God and Goddess. Okay? There was no God. In the beginning, there was Goddess. Praise be to the Great Mother. She was the founder of all creation. And with all ideas and concepts, ideologies, new forms of creativity and creation came the goddess, the black woman, the black mother, who was able to develop a thought and create a second archetype we know to be man, and then child. And they were just smaller versions of themselves. That is what you call today the boy and the girl. That is the history. That is the true history of the black woman. Now, back to the gay people. Yes, this is going to be a long lecture, but I had to give this out. I had to. Now, it's fair enough to say that you come from the heterosexual culture, and you do have parents and other relatives who may joke and bash you, but I tell you this. If you feel that the pressures of the heterosexual life, or should I say lifestyle, is too much, because life does not attach itself to a culture. Life is simply nature. Yes, it is being. Yes, that's true from a human concept and perception. But life is simply nature, not culture. Culture is a human idea. Nature is the creative, intellectual ideal of our creatress and creator. This is why you have the sun and the moon. Masculine sun, feminine moon. Feminine sun, masculine moon. Yes? And there is not just one sun and one moon. There are many moons. And on other planets, there may be 1, 2, or sometimes 3 moons and 3 suns, depending on the atmosphere of that planet and the thought process of the Divine Mother. We are using unknown scientific terms. These ideas will be brought to you later on in the future. We do not know when yet, but it'll be in the near future. Yes. Yes. So, we as androgynous heterosexuals, it is our nature to honor and glorify the black woman, whether she is strong in mind or strong in emotion. Okay? Because what we do understand is that not all women are strong in mind. They are strong in mind. However, some may not be verbally. Okay? Women tend to show their strengths in two separate ways. Let's keep it third dimensional. One way is through logic, the other way is through intuition, emotion, and soul and spirit. She would what people in the Bible would signify as Eve. And then you have some dominant women who are the Liliths of today. If you want to go into the Apocrypha, yes, the Apocrypha, that aspect of the dominant black woman, she would be your Lilith. Yes? Okay. So, again, I speak to you on behalf of Brother Devin, also known as the infamous David Claymore Hoggins. Yes! We say to you that if there is ever, and I'm speaking to future future feminine straight men and androgynous straight men, as well as masculine women and androgynous masculine women. And what we mean by androgynous masculine women is the women who want to express the man outside of themselves, even though their female is both outside and within. So they may design themselves as men on the outside, because you have to remember they are in the consciousness and the realm of the highest multi-dimension of the celestial realm. When they cut their hair like a boy's hair, that is what we as androgynous heterosexual men and gay men and women, yes, that is what we consider to be art. They are bringing their true selves and sculpting it from the outside. So yes, they're still women. They have their natural parts, but they are expressing the spirit that lives within them. And again, we say, most people today see it as a trend. That's because you allow the elite to indoctrinate these false ideas inside of yourself, And so you get corrupted, and instead of asking your creator what true heterosexuality is supposed to be, what what homosexuality is supposed what true homosexuality is supposed to be, what what true androgynous living through the cultural diaspora is supposed to be about. Yet, yes, the creator has no human qualities. It is multi-dimensional. Always has been, always will be, as long as there is an intelligence living. For if there is no intellectual movement present, then the thought of even a creator does not exist. Now, I would like to speak to the traditional heterosexuals. We were born from you, but we are not of you. We don't think like you. We feel like you as far as happiness and sadness and joy, yes, and that is a spiritual characteristic. But we don't live like you because at one point in time, many years ago, or hundreds of years ago, when you were kings and queens, you had your heterosexuality. You had your heterosexuality, and it was beautiful. It was magnificent. But you even created black bisexuals, black gay people, black drags. And when we say drags, we don't mean transsexuals, because the idea of a transsexual never existed in ancient times. That never took place. Okay? What you call transsexual, we would consider that to be drag queen, drag king. Okay? They were the healers, teachers, guides, actors, and actresses of that century, that time. So, this is why, again, we mentioned King Ra Sumaba Ikebimi, and we thank him for continuing to bring that knowledge from a comedic aspect. We thank you very much, brother. We thank you. He was sent to the creator Hapi to give a new meaning to the gay community, and not just the gay community, but all of orientation. Okay? Because he has even stated in quite a few of his videos, he's stated that even heterosexuals can learn from gay people. And to you heterosexuals that say that you cannot be gay and conscious if knowledge is infinite and free. Why why would it want to limit itself? The one true God does not think like that. These are ideas given to you by the thoughts of men. This is why you have books such as fire in the minds of men, because as soon as you come up with an idea, you light it up and you burn it at the same time. You don't know how to use any other element but that. The water, the air, which represent many other perceptions of consciousness. So that statement that you conscious heterosexual bullies are making is false. It is a fallacy. It is like William Shakespeare writing the play Hamlet with the skull. It is dead. Yes, it is dead, my friends, because we realize that idea is just absolutely preposterous. Just absolutely preposterous. But see, our gay family and friends and androgynous and us straight collective who are androgynous, or let me rephrase that, the androgynous people who identify themselves as straight because they are comfortable in that culture, consciousness, and nature, and that's totally fine. We understand free will because we were all born with it. So our suggestion to you is stop thinking like white people or die. There's no other way to get around that. Stop thinking like white people, or we will have no choice but to suppress you. Like the global white people have been suppressing us for years. Because if you, once again, strike us like you strike the gays, then we will strike you, because it is because of gay people that one of our straight beings who is living today and speaking with you decided to take on the inner reality of his true self and help reconstruct this demonic, I this demonic reality of a culture which you call heterosexuality and reconstruct that with more peace, love, understanding, and joy and celebration. This is why you have people like himself, and you had others before him: Michael Jackson, Prince, Terrence Trent D'Arby, who is now known as Sananda Maitreya, and you also had gospel singer Tone, aka B Slade, and now Davy Hawkins. But it is because we chose Davy. He's going to be proactive in both areas, both the heterosexual community, because that is where he was born and raised, and also the LGBTQ. However, from an African center. Oh yes. Oh yes. So this is our message to this is our message to those of you who are gay, or who may be heterosexual but in touch with your feminine side, or who also may be heterosexual and androgynous. We say this. We hear rumors, and the rumor is true. I've been confirmed. The rumor is that anybody who is a different preference than heterosexuals are not allowed in the Pan-African community. Well, let me say this. I, Sebastian, I, Davy, and Sebastian say that the mind is powerful. So what other cultures tell you you can't create, you can. Remember that you are the shamans, the healers, the teachers, the magicians, the wizards, and females can be wizards too, and the witches of this world. You have a place on this planet. You are the one. You are the gods you are seeking. Okay? You are representatives of your ancestors, and Devin his. So, with that being said, we're going to start recreating some new lifestyles for these feminine men and women who come into this planet. I command all androgynous and feminine heterosexual men and women, and as well as androgynous heterosexual men and women, to become not only African and have an African-centered consciousness, but also those of you who are other colors and nations to live not just a material lifestyle, but also an esoteric lifestyle. For we were all born infinite and interdimensional. Recreate. Let's turn politics into anarchy, or republic, whatever you so choose, and let's abandon the ex. And I command you to abandon the exoteric churches and learn what it truly means to be esoteric. Okay? And last but not least, those of us who may be feminine heterosexuals, androgynous heterosexuals, gays, lesbians, bisexuals, because either way you are straight and bi either way you are straight or bisexual, you are still androgynous. Now let me first state. Sure, I'll take it. Alright, this is Devin, y'all. Okay, so let me break this down. Alright, so let me first state as to why I keep saying androgynous heterosexuality, androgynous heterosexuality, androgynous heterosexuality. Okay. The androgynous heterosexual person is somebody that identifies themselves as straight, but they are in touch with both their masculine and feminine esoteric nature, and and they they bring that reality from outside of them, because it was born of them. It was given to them from within, from the divine creator. Okay? Everything is male and female. Good. Thank you. You're welcome, Sebastian. Yes. Everything is male and female. So, we say this. To those traditional heterosexuals who bash your rainbow straight child, your rainbow straight woman, even those who are gay, bisexual, lesbian, transgender, drag king, okay? Because you have women that can be drag kings and dress up like men. And some of us feminine straight men find that attractive, as well as androgynous straight men and women. And also, some of us come out of the emo and gothic culture, but you don't know that. And as a matter of fact, when it comes to Native American culture, the Woodland Indians, the Bloods, the Damus, which is blood in Swahili, we were your second to androgynous culture. Africa was the first. Okay? So embrace your indigenous spirit, soul, and reality. Don't let anybody compromise your truth. Okay? So, in closing, this is what we say to you. We say, if you traditional aggressive heterosexuals do not accept the way we think, feel, and live. We have the mental power, and uh, the ones after this generation will even have more power, okay, to recreate, think, feel, and do for themselves, as well as live out their inner truth. We also say this. We say that um okay, I'm gonna take the floor here. Sebastian's tired. I'm gonna take the floor here. The quote is the quote is um if you um shoot, I forgot it. What's that quote? The quote is oh, it it's better for a unicorn. There we go. The quote is this: it's better for a unicorn to stand on its own 2 feet rather than to have somebody else's feet on its back. And that, my friends, is a quote of independence. Okay? That's what feminine straight men were born to be about. That's what androgynous heterosexual men and women were born to be about. That's what androgynous, in the sense of not from the heterosexual aspect, but from their natural aspect, which is bi. Okay, and let's not get it confused. Androgynous heterosexuality is natural. It's just that those type of beings, they are more artistic and spiritual than they are sexual. Don't get it wrong. We androgynous straight men and women, we are sexual beings, but our spirituality deals in creativity. Okay, it's just like I might. It's just like I might dress like a man every day, but my spirit wants to express itself like a woman. Okay, so, and then other times I may still dress up like a man. However, I may wear clear nail polish, but it's for men. I may wear eyeliner. Okay, that is because I am acknowledging the woman, the queen within myself, because even though on this plane and in this philosophy I identify myself as man, what I truly know about myself is that I am an all spirits. I am a ultra spiritual being. I'm a multi-dimensional spirit. Okay, I because the ultimate truth is that the idea of man or woman really doesn't exist. It doesn't. When you look at it from a new age philosophical perception and point of view, that is our nature as feminine men and women who identify and are comfortable with the nature of being straight, as well as the culture of being straight, and those of themselves who are LGBTQ. Okay, that is our nature, and so when you try to now for the for the heterosexual men who may be in touch with their female selves, and the heterosexual women who may be in touch with their masculine selves. You have two options. When when overly masculated heterosexual people bash you and attack you, you can do two things. You can either fight back and stand in your truth, which we would consider, or there's always a place for you in the in the LBGT community. Okay? You can you can always go to the other side, because there is straight people there. You just have to allow the creator and your ancestors to guide you to that path. Okay? Because if you don't, you'll be like a tumbleweed blowing in the wind. Okay? So so we say this, right? You cannot you heterosexuals, and I know I'm going to get attacked for this, but I'm standing up for our truth, not just for the androgynous heterosexual side of life, as well as the feminine and masculine women, as well as the feminine men and masculine women who identify themselves as straight. Okay, but they are in touch with their they're in touch with their opposite side. I mean, not opposite side, but opposite self as well, consciously. Y'all heterosexual Pan Africans say that homosexuality is not accepted in the Pan African community. Well, that's okay, because African consciousness is infinite, just like any other spiritual and celestial knowledge, and they can take that, as well as us straight men and women who have been in touch with, both their feminine and masculine side. We can take that Pan African consciousness, and we can take that culture, and make it for our benefit, and still obey Ma'at and Olodumare, as well as our Native American creator, because the one thing that we know that you just refuse to understand is that we are all one as a black people, and our infinite, interdimensional, multi-dimensional creator is of not just of infinite love, but of oneness. Excuse me. So if we're not accepted into your community, then fine. We'll just go to the other side, and we will make that our home. You 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 take care of your business, we'll take care of ours. Along with being being surrounded by those who are lesbians, bisexual, gays, and transcended, the transgender, aka transcendential beings. Okay. End of roundtable discussion. Debate end. Peace.